Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Where we continue to follow the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden now.
Those are just some of the scenes overnight as thousands of Americans gathered in celebration of Osama bin Laden's death.
Former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill says he has thought about the mission every day since that May Day in 2011.
For multiple conversations you had with Rob O'Neill over the past year and a half, how'd you get
access? And you described that his head kind of exploded when you hit him.
I actually hit him 3 times because I shot him twice when he was standing and once on the ground.
That is the fucking American badass right there.
We are not going for fame and we are not going for bravado. We are going for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday morning, and then 45 minutes later she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper.
If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.
I'm Rob O'Neill, and this is the Operator Podcast. Here we are. Road trip is still on, but I made it back to the studio. I felt like I needed to get an episode of the Operator Podcast out to you. This would be episode 145. I've been on the road. I was putting my travels on my stories on Instagram and on the Facebook just to give you an idea of what's going on in my world, especially this time of year. It's a busy time of year on the speaking circuit, traveling around, doing different events and whatnot. So, and I think the reason I did it's funny. It's not it's because when I talk to friends back home or friends around town, wherever it is that I am, it's like when they say if they want to get together, want to do something, you didn't call me when you were in town or whatever. It's like, well, because I travel a lot, and what I hear a lot is the phrase, "I get it," and you don't. You don't get it. This is a crazy travel schedule. I'm not bragging, and I'm also not wishing it upon you. I'm posting now just in airports and whatnot or outside in cities because it is fun. I mean, it's a blast going around to different places. I think the first leg of part of my trip was flying into South Dakota. I'm actually going to head back near that spot here in a couple weeks, but into South Dakota to drive to Sioux City, Iowa, for an event there, we had a good time there. I was on Lake Okeechobee. I put a video out just looking at that. Gorgeous there. I'm a big fan of walleye too. I'm trying to get more into the fish department of eating, not necessarily even seafood. It's walleye is a freshwater fish. It's delightful. It's a whitefish like cod or like halibut. I think it's really good. Up there, didn't get a chance to get to that because I was speaking and we had to go other places. I went down to Florida. I was on Patrick Bet-David's podcast. That was really cool. I had a good time with him. Pat's a great dude. That's the first time I've met him. I've been a big fan of his, but he definitely a good podcast. Listen to the podcast we did. It was great. It's also I get asked the question a lot of who's the coolest person you've ever met. He makes that answer pretty easy. Very, very cool guy. Patrick is. Definitely in my top 5. I love top 5s. He's definitely in my top 5 now. It's easy because I got to think around to who I've met. I talked about that with Ross Patterson. Drinking Bros was down there last week. I work hand in glove with the Drinking Bros. Love that stuff down in Austin. But we were sort of name dropping cool guys that I've met in particular. There's been a few, and it is fun because there's that saying, "Never meet your heroes." I agree and disagree with that. I agree with that because if you're holding someone on a pedestal and you expect them to be larger than life, they're probably not. But like me, I think that dudes are dudes, and it's nice for me to see people who are normal. And just because someone's famous or has done something cool doesn't mean they're not normal people. So it's that for me, that is to see that. As someone who used to have a PhD and fucking up at 1,000 miles an hour, it's nice to see other guys who can as well, because that, like the huge log at SEAL training says, misery loves company. But yeah, great interview down there. I hung out with Jeff Gum and Kaj Larson. They're both involved with the Operators Collective, which I mentioned last week on Collectively Operating. It's a new agency that we have where we are offering keynote speeches, yes, but also other stuff too. And we're actually still working that out. If you have ideas about the Operators Collective, just go to that website, theoperatorscollective.com, and check it out. And let us know what you think, because we're going to be able to do everything from speaking, presentations, fireside chats, Q&A stuff that's fun, and then seminars, everything from MMA stuff to CQB to Mini Hell Week, Mini Buzz. We think. Depends on what people want, but it's going to be a good time. Check that site out. We got some guys on there, good guys on there now, and we've got good guys coming, men and women, more dudes than women, but hopefully that changes a little bit. When I was, I went to, let's see, where did we go? Terre Haute, Indiana, which is awesome, home of the Indiana State Sycamores. Not home of Larry Bird, but that is where Larry Joe Bird played in college. He did go to Indiana first, but then he went to Indiana State. Better fit for him. He's actually from French Lick, Indiana. The only disappointment for me was I didn't get to go to the Larry Bird Museum. Big Larry Bird fan. Grew up in the '80s myself, and it's nice. It'd be good to do that. But I was out there, gave a talk. Clint Emerson was with me, another Navy SEAL. He did stuff in the Navy that's the super secret stuff. Really cool. He wrote 100 Deadly Skills, a few other books, but check out Clint Emerson. Great to hang. It's always great for me to hang out with other SEALs too. Other military. I love hanging out with veterans. It's different to hang out with veterans in person than to hear about what guys are doing. I love to hear what dudes are doing. And then the backward stuff. Not the shit talking. That's out there, but not as much. With me, I've seen it online. I've never seen it in person, which is weird. But people are really tough behind keyboards. But it's great to get veterans together. Again, I'm just saying, I was with another team guy, and it was awesome to hang out. I got to watch Clint Emerson spoke before me, and to watch another dude speak, and it was kind of cool because it was post-dinner speech, meaning the bars were open. So Clint got up there and said, do I need to give you boardroom speech or locker room speech? And they said locker room speech, and he got into it that way, and it was great. I love it when you're able to get in front of people and speak the way people should speak without worrying about being offended by everything. Which we did see some of that. We've been seeing that to people that are offended by everything, and then all of a sudden get extremely violent, even though they preach peace, and they just get extremely violent because we've dumbed down a lot of the American public to the point where, they disagree, we better kill somebody. So that's tough to see that. I'm going to touch on some of that later. I'm obviously referring to what happened with Charlie Kirk. And I'm still processing that, to be perfectly honest. I was on the Drinking Bros podcast last week, and we got into it, and obviously, especially now, with that many cameras, that much exposure, someone that high end, and what a great dude. I knew Charlie Kirk, and I still can't say enough great things about him. From a husband to a father, a family man, to a Christian, to a great American, someone who wanted conversation, not violence, and he was snuffed out by the fascists who were calling him fascist. And let's be honest, there's a lot of shit going behind the shooter, again, that I'm not going to get into. I'm leaning towards, yes, the guy they caught was the shooter, but who put him up to it and how many people were involved. We're finding out a lot of stuff I don't want to get into just yet because I want to make sure. I've been traveling a lot and I haven't had a chance to stay up with current events as much as I normally, not necessarily, not much as I like to, but as much as I do, just because that's my thing. I've always been into current events and politics and history. And I like to stay. I just like to stay up on it, but I don't know enough about this event in order to talk about it smartly. But there's some shit that happened with the shooter, with the gun, with the video of the guy climbing down the thing, no gun on him, but they said, well, he took it apart and carried it, but it's a 30-06 he's carrying. You know how long it takes to take that thing apart, and then it was found in the woods, but put together and wrapped in a blanket and a towel. If you're running from the law, having just executed somebody, and you're in a hurry, you're not going to, if it took you the amount of time it does to take a 30-06 apart, are you going to put it back together and then put the shell back in, or did you leave the shell in the first place and make sure it's nice and pretty? A lot of weird shit there that I'm not going to get into today. I'm still traveling too. So I need to do proper research. Plus, Charlie Kirk deserves better than what I can just say from what I think. I'm not going to go off of, here's what I think. I want to see what happened and hopefully what makes sense. That event, too, is going to help me be more honest as honest as I can be. And what I mean by that is I'm going to try to just stick with facts. Obviously, we're going to still have fun on the Operator Podcast and shit like that and chide people and whatnot and joke around and have fun. But when I speak to, what I'm saying is I'm done bullshitting. I'm done playing pretend with the left and thinking that if we all just get along with your nonsense, that maybe we'll get it. Charlie Kirk was not aggressive as far as physically. He was smart, and he could quote the Bible, and he would tell you the facts. And if you hated him, or if you even hit the hat off his head, which has happened, he would sit you down and talk to you and debate, and that's what you do. But the reason the left hated him is he didn't believe the bullshit. He didn't believe that men can be in women's locker rooms, and men aren't different than women. They can dominate women's sports, and it's just all that you've heard it all. You've heard all the bullshit, all the straight up lies that we're force-fed for a long, long time, and then if you start to tell the truth, you're going to offend stupid people, and it might just get you killed. And we saw it happen. And I don't give a shit what this kid's parents did, or their political affiliations, or the fact that he's an independent. You know what pushed him to it. Media, you need to, and the left, for the love of God, coming out and saying like, oh, there shouldn't be political violence. How long have you been saying fascist, 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 Hitler, Hitler, Hitler? What do you think's going to happen, especially with some of these morons that vote for you? You're going to whip up violence, which you did. So own it. And don't start looking at the right saying, well, we need to tone down the rhetoric. What do you got, Charlottesville and that bullshit from the insurrection? I'm not getting into it today is what I'm getting at. I'm going to get smarter on it, and I'm going to find out exactly what happened. And we'll get into that too. Today's a good day in history, so I'd rather touch on that. Just some of the stuff, some of the trials America's been through on this day. So we'll talk about that a little bit and the other stuff too. I was talking about the veteran stuff too. I'm not going to mention these ass blaster veterans podcasts that have been out there talking shit about every veteran who's actually done something after the military. I don't mean actually done something, but have done stuff that has gotten some veterans into the spotlight, into the limelight, myself included, and they tried to make livings off of themselves by bashing other people. Because it's kind of weird when people just talk about what other people did and how bad they are, as opposed to saying what you did. And then it's very shady with your records and what you've done. And I'll tell you this, as someone who's been in the spotlight for a while now too, if you're going to try to get famous and try to get clicks and do your little dances and sit around with your fucking retard friends that wear sunglasses in studio, shit like that, smoking cigars and drinking, better fucking make sure your house is clean. You better make sure your history is correct before you start fucking with other people, because there's a podcast out there, I don't know if you know it, just disbanded. You've probably heard a little bit. You've probably heard a little bit. If you do a little digging, and you probably know who I'm talking about. They're going away a little bit. But that house of cards is coming the fuck down. And I'm not saying why. It seems like some stuff was found. I'm not saying who found it. I'm saying some stuff was found. I might be hinting there's a shitload more stuff out there too. Right now they're just kind of keying on one member. Be careful who you fuck with. Be careful with when dealing with people who have been in this light before. You know, that cute little fucking rug you have under your cute little feet, or you're probably the type of guy who still wears combat boots with his jeans. It might get pulled out from under you too, and you know who I'm talking about. And I hope you're fucking listening. And it's not just podcasts; it's other YouTubers, you famous little fuckers that started your war well after the rest of us killed the terrorists. Yeah, I mean, you got time. You got time. So tighten your shit up. But yeah, I'm not going to get into that too much either. I'm going to travel a lot too, so I will be following these other people too. But again, I'm not going to give them the platform that they want, man, because some of them got famous by shit talking me first. All right, how's that going? So, but more to follow on that too, and obviously 2 years ago or so, I was kind of pissed. Now I'm gonna have fun with this shit. So, but before we get into what happened on this day in history, because that's all that's really important right now to me, and it's not going to, well, I mean, it is history and it is the truth, and it's about some great stuff that happened in this country. So there's going to be one side of the aisle that doesn't like it. God forbid America is the greatest fucking country in the history of the planet, but it is. I need to talk about the sponsor of the show. I've been with Mando for a long time, and you've heard me talk about them, and I absolutely love their product. But we talked about them. We're back in the spring, the fall when it got hot, but now it's in the spring, then the summer when it got hot is what I meant to say. And now it's the fall. It's football season. We know that. Got to get some yard work, get the rake out, all that stuff to him. Maybe some hunting trips too. I love hunting season going up in Montana, but let's be honest, staying fresh can be a challenge. That's why you need to hear about Mando again. Mando deodorant. From your pits to everywhere else, Mando High Performance Odor can control your odor and sweat. That it usually lasts all day, but you can knock that off with Mando. Forget the colognes that just mask up yo stank. Mando blocks odor before it starts. It's one stick, two jobs. That's coverage through double overtime games, the weekend projects, those extra long pre-holiday shifts that you're working. You're good. It's not magic. It's science. It's not magic. It's Mando. It's simple to use. You'll see as soon as you start using it, you're going to see the unexpected benefits. I've mentioned it before. When I'm using it, Jessica loves it. She thinks I lit a candle in the room. I didn't even use the bathroom, just use the shower, but she loves it. And if you're flying like I've been doing, you don't need to worry that the person next to you thinks they're sitting next to that stinky Fobbit, and we're bringing the Fobbit name back. Mando was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how a normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours, or for you people that aren't that good at geography or geometry, 72 hours is 3 days. Mando deodorant products, the solid deodorant stick formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts. The spray deodorant is aluminum free and ideal for hard to reach places. Hard to reach, you know where those are, just like at Bagram Airfield, Bath, balls, ass, face, go take a bath. You can choose from a variety of your scents, like bourbon leather. I'm in between that right now in Clover Woods. Mount Fuji, I love, or the Pro Sport. Do you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now? The answer should be yes. You can find them at Walmart or Target or other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, go to shopmando.com. Shopmando.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers because the starter pack comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products. Again, I go with the mini body wash and the deodorant wipes so you can take the Ranger Sour on the road. You can do that in the bathroom on an airplane. Plus, get a load of this free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers, that could be you, you get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code, The Operator. You can use that at shopmando.com and 20% off site-wide free shipping, shopmando.com. Shopmando.com. Go use code The Operator. And when they ask where you heard about Mando, tell them you heard it from The Operator. You're an operator, I'm on Operator, and we smell fantastic. Shopmando.com, code The Operator. One of the things I've been doing on the Operator podcast has been talking about this day in history. I like that because it's important to remember your history. Well, I did a while back because I bought a set of Encyclopedia Britannica from early 70s, like 1971, I think, might have been the volumes I bought, because I want to have books that are, I like the original books. I want them to be old. I don't want somebody snooping through them and changing history for the way that I like it. And a lot of that's happening right now. They say that the history is written by the victors, and that's true. And that's if someone is changing history just because they won a war or something like that, it's not for the right reasons. It's for, and I'm talking either side of the aisle too. And with me talking about the left the way I was just a minute ago, I'm not just talking about the left. They're more prone to violence now. Be honest with yourself, than the right is. It has been that way a lot too. But I'm not saying one side's. I am saying one side's better than the other. But what I'm saying is I'm not a Republican. I guess what I'm getting at too. I think politics are horrible, and we've seen what happens when there's too much power, which is going to be interesting here in a minute on September 17th. There's a couple important things that happened, major things in the history of this country, and I like getting into that now because history should just be history, and freedom of speech was put there to protect speech that you disagree with. And that's we don't need to be constantly agreeing with each other or only hearing the shit that we like. I mean, you've probably even seen some of the videos of the far lefties celebrating Charlie Kirk's death and then getting fired from their jobs and then posting videos about them crying why they got fired for their jobs. It's just freedom of speech, and they're literally crying, and you can usually tell because they got the big fucking stupid cow nose ring in, and there's your sign. How they shouldn't get fired for freedom of speech. Like, well, Charlie Kirk probably shouldn't have been killed for freedom of speech either. And that's the type of filth that are out there. But a lot of stuff. Look, if someone's rewriting books, it's almost a moment of why. Like, you kind of want to know why are you burning books? Why are you rewriting history? And what are you keeping from the masses? Don't think for a second that the real people in power give a shit about what the masses think. It's almost one of those things where I'm not talking too much about what happened with Charlie Kirk because I'm not trying to get pissed off because I think emotions lead to bad decisions. But I am saying we should be able to know what did happen to people. I mean, if you get on the internet and you see some of the stuff, why did some of these wars start? Why did some of these wars start? Is it because people were erasing history that we had? I mean, why are there giant doors on huge cathedrals that obviously weren't built with hammer and chisel hundreds of years before people had to cross this country in horse and buggy? Were wars started to delete the history of what actually happened? The doors were huge. Were there giants? And again, maybe my phone hears me at night when I'm taking a sleeping pill and just feeding me bullshit. I'm just saying we should know the history. We should know if it was tampered with and why, is all I'm getting at. Like, who? Because you got to figure at war, both sides know they're right. No one's ever the bad guy to themselves. You're the bad guy to me, and I'm the bad guy to you. And that's just how it works. And these lefties, I mean, they're misguided, but they know they're right, even though they're saying you're a fascist, and then they kill a guy, which is a fascist tactic. Again, I don't want to get into it, but that's it. But I do want to talk about September 17th. That's today, just because of a few things in history. I'm not going to bore you, but you do need to know your history, especially in this country, especially the United States, because you do hear a lot of bullshit out there that America didn't do this and someone else did that and we stole it from them. Nonsense. This country's fine. This country's great. That's why everyone's trying to come here. If communism is so good, look at when the Berlin Wall was taken down. Where did everybody run? Did the West Germans run into East Germany to live under socialism and communism? And keep in mind, too, that communism, and I've talked about this in the past, I'm happy to go through it again, communism is the end result for socialism. It usually seems that socialism starts up because it sounds good. I don't know. Lower rent, affordable housing, free healthcare, and free food in grocery stores. Couple that with some extreme religions that don't care for modern stuff. I mean, even now they're saying that, not now, they have been saying for a while and teaching our kids that the Crusades were Christian aggression, Catholic aggression, Pope Urban II. Was it really? Or was it an invasion of Europe that they were repelling? Did you see that shit Tommy Robinson just did in the UK? Are they finally standing up to the invasion? Don't tell me it's not an invasion. The Muslim religion has been telling us they're going to take over the world without firing a shot. They're going to outbreed us. And that's not me saying it. That's me repeating what I've been told by Muslims. So was history toned down because the West felt really guilty about slaughtering people? And hey, they did some bad shit too. But it wasn't just Catholic aggression. I mean, it wound up in and around Jerusalem, which is normally peaceful. Shit, maybe it's the religions that are always killing each other over there. But I'm just saying that everyone knows who's the good guy, but this country is great. And don't believe that nonsense for a second. And I'm going to do an entire episode because I want to, even though I said I'm going to tell the truth, I am going to be careful about how I do it because, some people are so sensitive. I don't want to hurt too many feelings, but I need to have my facts straight when I get into stuff I didn't plan. And like I said, I keep notes, but I don't always read them because I have a tendency to get myself fired up. But here's where we're going to start, and I am going to read because I want to get this right. And I'm still building my studio. I have the operator, the Demon Hunter, the Way Forward, and that guitar that's signed by all 5 original members of the Rolling Stones that I have sitting on a couch, which is dope. The only thing worse than just having that there and not in a case is the fact that I can't play a chord. But I want to read about this because September 17th, which is today again, is important in this history. In 1862, we had the bloodiest day of battle in our nation's history. That was obviously the Battle of Antietam in the Civil War. If you know your history, 1962, I'm actually reading Bill O'Reilly's book, Confronting the Presidents, which is awesome. I'm getting nothing out of this. I'm a Bill O'Reilly fan, and he is the all-time leading bestseller of history books in the country, maybe the world. His books are good, the Killing series. And I don't know if technically this is part of the Killing series, Confronting the Presidents, though, but it's a chapter on each, and I'm into the Civil War part right now, which is fascinating. It just so happens September 17th. But it was fought near Sharpsburg, Maryland, Battle of Antietam, the bloodiest single day in American history. There was just under, it's an estimated 23,000 casualties in one day. So that's going to be both sides, but, dead, wounded, or missing. And I always hate when they say missing in war because I think we all know what that means. But this pivotal engagement during the Civil War marked a significant turning point in the conflict. And I just want to examine the events leading up to the battle, some of the key figures involved. What you're going to notice, especially far back in history like that, a lot of the same names, but it's because the country was small and just whatever families you're a part of, a lot of people. But I want to talk about the course of the battle itself and its far-reaching consequences, including the impact on the Emancipation Proclamation and the overall trajectory of the war. The Emancipation Proclamation delivered by President Lincoln. I've been in the Lincoln bedroom in the White House before, too. Riveting. I'm sure I've told that story. I was in Donald Trump's first term. I went up there. He brought me up there when we went to dinner. I know I told that story. If I haven't, hit me up. And it's in the comments at the Operator Podcast. I try to get to a lot of those, too. Keep that in mind. Sometimes it's my team reading and responding, though, so don't get angry with them. At Mikuya is me. And if you want to hear it there, let's do it. I don't always read the comment. I've been toning down on that because some of the comments, man, it's just getting you negativity. When I've been traveling so much, too, that there was 2 days I didn't check social media. They were 2 of the best days I've had in years because I'm away from the nonsense. So don't keep that in mind, too, if you're dealing with depression and you don't have access to ibogaine. Take your phone and turn it off. And don't look at it for a while. But in the summer of 1862, there was a Confederate general named Robert E. Lee. He launched an offensive into Maryland, so we're talking Union territory, hoping to shift the war's momentum and potentially gain foreign recognition for the Confederate States of America. And Union General George B. McClellan, he was tasked with defending Washington, D.C., pursued Lee's army. I like that when they call the Army of Northern Virginia. And he was leading 2 armies that converged at Antietam Creek. The Army of Northern Virginia, if you know, you know. And tell me if you know. No, I'm not talking about Antietam. There's a thing called the Army of Northern Virginia. Tell me in the comments, at Mikuya on this one. MCHOOYH, if you know that. But he launched that into Maryland. The battle was preceded by a remarkable event, the discovery of Lee's detailed battle plans known as Special Order 191 by Union soldiers who were the North. This intelligence gave McClellan a significant advantage, but McClellan was known for being way too cautious, and his cautious approach prevented him from fully capitalizing on good intel. And that's one of the things where, safety is good, but safety kills. If you're way too safe, you're going to slow down and screw it up. But the Battle of Antietam features several notable military leaders whose actions shaped the course of the engagement. On the Confederate side, obviously, General Lee, he commanded the Army of Northern Virginia with key subordinates such as General Thomas Stonewall Jackson and General James Longstreet. The Union Army of the Potomac was led by General George McClellan, with prominent generals including Joseph Hooker, Edwin V. Sumner, and Ambrose E. Burnside. And then the battle unfolds. The Battle of Antietam can be divided into 3 main phases: the morning attack on the Confederate left, the midday assault on the center, and the afternoon push against the right flank. And the fighting was intense and brutal, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. We're talking 23,000 casualties. And this was not as brutal as stuff like the movies even don't do the brutality justice. But even in Private Ryan, we're still dealing with belt-fed machine guns. Right now, we're talking fixed bayonets and muskets and sword sabers, knives, killing people with your hands. And you're talking dudes that are pretty much neighbors. Some are family, some are brothers, fighting each other. In the morning, Union forces under Hooker attacked the Confederate left, led by Stonewall Jackson. The fighting centered around the cornfield and the Dunker Church. resulting in thousands of casualties on both sides. As the battle shifted to the center, Union troops under Mansfield and Sumner attempted to break through the Confederate lines near Sunken Run, and that was known as Bloody Lane. In the afternoon, Union forces under Burnside attacked at the Confederate right, attempting to cross Antietam Creek and capture the bridge that now bears the name, which is kind of dope. That's a good place to check out if you're doing some of the touring, which I plan on doing too. Need the babies to get a little bigger, though. The fighting was fierce, but the Union eventually succeeded in crossing the creek. However, the arrival of Confederate reinforcements under A.P. Hill prevented a decisive Union victory. So in the aftermath, some of the consequences, while the Battle of Antietam is often considered a tactical draw, and actually I think that the Confederates killed more Union soldiers. It had a significant strategic implications for the Union. Lee's invasion of the North was halted, and his army was forced to retreat back to Virginia, and the capital of the Confederate States was in Virginia, being Richmond. The battle also provided President Abraham Lincoln with the political opportunity he needed to issue the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation on September 22nd, 1862. And Lincoln was in a tough spot there. Obviously, this was mostly to do with slavery. The South wanted it, the North did not. Again, that's a longer episode than we have time for today. The Emancipation Proclamation shifted the war's focus from solely preserving the Union to also ending slavery. It also prevented European powers, particularly Britain and France, from recognizing the Confederacy, as they were reluctant to support a nation that maintained the institution of slavery. Because if you remember, and again, this is some history that probably gets either blacked out or blown over, England was the first country to abolish slavery. So, keep that one in mind when everyone talks about how bad England is. But the battle led to a change, and see what had happened there too. The Confederate States of America was trying to get approval, not recognition, from Europe, because a lot of the times we were, instead of taxes, we were getting funding from loans and whatnot from other countries, especially France and the UK and England. Sorry. Let's see. Okay. The battle led a change in Union military leadership, despite his victory. McClellan's cautious approach and failure to pursue Lee's retreating army. Lincoln ended up firing him, and he kind of wanted to fire McClellan anyway. Didn't necessarily get along with him again because he was too safe. But the Battle of Antietam stands as a pivotal moment in the Civil War. Its significance extends beyond the staggering numbers of casualties to its far-reaching consequences, including the issuance of said Emancipation Proclamation and the shifting of the war's focus. The battle demonstrated the resilience and determination of both Union and Confederate forces, while also highlighting the crucial role of leadership and decision-making in the outcome of military engagements. Damn, isn't that the truth, too? The leadership and the decision-making, is it quick? Is it decisive? Is it too cautious? Is it cautious enough? I mean, again, we're talking with the patrol to contact in Iraq. Horrible idea, get your guys killed. Good leadership comes in many forms, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. And the worst thing you can say is this is the way we've always done it. That's just my personal opinion there, too, and I'm usually right. As a turning point in the war, the Battle of Antietam remains a crucial chapter in American history, one that continues to be studied, ideally studied, I hope, and remembered for its profound impact on the nation's trajectory. And that happened. That's one of the things that happened on September 17th. So know your history. I'm not sure if I ever told you about the know your history and why it's so important to me. When I was a young Navy SEAL, one of the things that we love to do, and you see it now, and it's kind of fun. I'm over it. For situation dictates, I guess, depending on where I am and what's going on. But we used to love to catch fake SEALs, and we run into them quite a bit. And as young SEALs, especially fresh out of buds, like still shitting buds chow when you check in a SEAL team too. And my favorite week of the year was the third week in July. That is the SEAL reunion. I loved it as a single Navy SEAL in kick-ass shape, still not tanned by the sun. That's just something that God didn't, endow me with. Great times, though, but I was still a little bit cocky. And we used to notice that the old guys would wear these big hats with a huge trident that says SEAL team. And so, they would wear it good on them and go with it. They would usually wear their rank of senior chief or something on it, or something signifying Vietnam veteran or whatnot. But I was at the SEAL reunion. I think it might have been my first SEAL reunion. So that means, let's see. You know what? It was my first one. I hadn't deployed yet. So it would have been in 1997, maybe? Yeah, 97. I went to that and I saw a dude on the beach after. There's a big demonstration they have there with helicopters and Navy SEALs, and chicks dig that stuff. You've seen pictures. And there was a dude older than my father who was with me, much older. And because you got to figure it, so this is 97, a while back. And he had a hat on that said like SEAL team. And I figured that's a fake because this is before 9/11. So base security wasn't that great. During the reunion, pretty much anybody can get on without showing too much ID. This is a fake Navy SEAL wearing the hat. I'm going to bust him. So I just went up to him and I said, hey, I like your hat. When'd you go through Hell Week? Me being cocky, just because usually if you're a fake SEAL, we could bust you by asking your BUDS class. I thought I would be super clever and detective-like if I said, when did you go through Hell Week? Because that means what year, what was your BUDS class? And he said, I went through Hell Week in 1944. And I had my aha moment. 1944, I said, we didn't have Hell Week in 1944. And he said, we did on Omaha Beach. Know your heritage. That's why I like to talk history. So that Battle of Antietam, man. Battle of Antietam, September 17th, 1862. And another significant event on September 17th. I need to go backwards. I normally go in chronological order just because it sort of makes sense, but this one's more fitting. A little more important than Antietam, even though Antietam is extremely important, was on September 17th, 1787. I'm going backwards in time just to show that the way that some stuff works, because on September 17th in 1787, that's when the U.S. Constitution was signed by 39 delegates at the Constitutional Convention. And notable signers would be George Washington, James Madison, who's the father of the Constitution. Ben Franklin signed it. Never a president. I would say most people don't know that, but a lot of people couldn't find Canada on a map. Alexander Hamilton signed it. And then a dude named Gouverneur Morris. What a kick-ass name. It looks like governor, but as if the French would spell it. Gouverneur Morris. I like that, and I looked into him. The reason he's important for signing it is he actually wrote the preamble, the first part of the Constitution, which I'm going to read to you. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That's the first part of it. And what a preamble is, it's an introduction that explains why the Constitution was written, all right? It says that the goal is to create a fair and united country where people are free, safe, and can work together to improve their lives. It emphasizes goals like establishing justice, keeping peace, protecting everyone's rights, and making sure the government works for the people. That's very important to think. Remember that too. The government works for the people. You wouldn't think that now, because it seems like they're your bosses. Why are there so many secret meetings? Why are there so many classified documents? Why are there so many unelected officials who are making mandates on people who vote? This is bullshit. Why are there so many donors out there with dark money putting people in? Why was there a coup in the last election? Why didn't they care if it was Joe Biden or Kamala Harris? They didn't give a shit because the people were in charge. The Constitution was against all of that. A lot of the framers, a lot of the founding fathers of this country were against two parties and stuff like that because they saw it coming. These were brilliant men too. I mean, these are dudes that spoke different languages. These are guys that could translate Latin into Greek, stuff like that. And you'll see guys today, because they have the internet and AI, say that they were just dumb racists. This is not the case. But James Madison, one of the dudes, the father of the Constitution, is what they called him. And he earned his nickname, the pivotal role in drafting it, writing it, in promoting it, and then the ratification. I'm going to go into a few points on James Madison that are great. Authorship of the Virginia Plan. This framework proposed a strong federal government with 3 branches. And know this stuff too, because you'll see this on everything from Here's Johnny on Jesse Waters, just to people walking around the street talking to who you know. 3 branches of government. Most people don't know that: the legislative, executive, and the judicial. and they served as a foundation for the Constitution structure. He's known as the father for his leadership at the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Key delegate, actively involved in the debates and negotiations that shaped the final document, being the Constitution, and advocacy and defense. He authored many of the Federalist Papers, read those, which argued for the ratification of the Constitution, explained its principles. His influence on federalism, Madison's ideas about checks and balances, separation of power, significantly influenced the design of the U.S. government. And when they talk about the judicial, they mean the Supreme Court, unelected officials, not these district courts that tell you that you can't do this as president. That's going to be for more. I don't want to get into that. I'm just happy there wasn't a district court saying that George Washington couldn't cross the Delaware to fight the Hessians on Christmas. It's pretty important. I'm glad there was a biographer there just to prove I wasn't the first military guy to write a book. There are other dudes there. You heard Alexander Hamilton, John Jay also played crucial roles. Madison's comprehensive involvement in drafting and promoting led to that name, the father of the Constitution. Now, the first Constitution you may be familiar with, it was called the Articles of the Confederation, and I kind of broke that down a little bit more for myself. I went through and studied and wrote a little bit out here just because I wanted to you can learn from reading, but you learn more from teaching. So I like to write stuff down and read it out loud. Plus, it helps with my teleprompter skills. The first time I ever read a teleprompter was when I realized I need glasses to read. It was on live television for 4 hours. NBD. No big deal. But the Articles of Confederation served as the first Constitution of the United States, establishing the framework for a national government following the Revolutionary War, the independence from Britain. And it was drafted during a critical period, 1776 to 1781. The Articles aimed to unify the 13 colonies in their collective effort to govern themselves, because they wanted the states to have more power, but they wanted a central government as well. And to lay the groundwork the Articles did for the future governance, and ultimately they proved inadequate, a little bit too small, which I don't know, man. I like a smaller government and not a lot of micromanagement, but the Articles of Confederation did lead to the drafting of the U.S. Constitution and the paper. We're going to talk a little bit about where it came from and its structure. The desire for a unified government among the colonies grew during the American Revolution, especially as they sought to coordinate military efforts and negotiate with foreign powers, i.e. France, stuff like that. The Continental Congress, acting as the central governing body, began drafting a formal constitution in 1776. And keep in mind, too, they're not typing this shit up. They're writing it with a little quiver, dipping it in ink. So they're busy because they wrote that other thing, too, in 1776, that declaration that we were saying that we were independent. Obviously, it's very complex, involving representatives from all colonies, all 13, and culminated in the adoption of the Articles of Confederation in 1777 in November. But it was not, the ratification of that was not complete until March of 1781. That's a lot of time in between the adoption and the ratification. That's a few years, and that was because all the states needed to approve it, and so that's going to take a long time. And the Articles reflected on a cautious approach, emphasizing state sovereignty and limiting central authority to prevent tyranny, reminiscent of British rule. Tyranny of the federal government. Who could have seen that coming? Who could have told Thomas Jefferson that one day in a few hundred years, the police directed by the federal government and overreach are going to arrest one dude for trying to paddleboard in the Pacific Ocean? And Thomas Jefferson's response would have been, "What is the Pacific Ocean?" I'm kidding. But under the Articles, the national government consisted of a Congress in which each state had one vote. So every state gets one vote, and that's regardless of size. Unicameral vote. One state, one vote, that's it. No executive branch, no Supreme Court. Congress held the authority to conduct foreign affairs, negotiate treaties, maintain armed forces. However, it lacked the power to levy taxes. And who could run a government without being able to tax its people? Because they need their tax money because they really don't produce anything else. And they couldn't regulate commerce. Basically they were realizing the Articles of Confederation is good, but not as good as the Constitution, but it did kind of lead to it. They did have some strengths in the Articles, though. They achieved several important successes. Coordinated the Revolutionary War effort, which is crazy because they're fighting the greatest Navy and the Redcoats. And they also secured independence from said Redcoats.
The Confederation Congress negotiated the Treaty of Paris, which formally ended the war and recognized American sovereignty, which is huge. And the Articles established the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, which is a significant achievement that provided a system for surveying and selling Western lands and prohibited slavery in the new territories. So they're actively trying to get rid of slavery. And that's important to remember that took a while. The Brits did it first, like I mentioned, but we eventually did too. Very important to remember that the United States of America abolished slavery. Hundreds of thousands, if not more, of Americans died to do that. This is very important to know about the history of this country, because when these leftist teachers are teaching their students in public schools, they're telling them America bad, slavery, America bad. Not the case. Yes, slavery's bad. America got rid of slavery. We fought a war over it. I'm from Montana. Montana wasn't even a state yet. Give me a fucking break. Irish were slaves. There were European slaves, the Barbary pirates, North Africa. There's still slavery today. There were more slaves in Brazil than there were in the United States. Is Brazil paying reparations? No one alive in this country today was a slave. There's open slave markets right now. We'll get into the courtesy of whom later. But the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation soon became apparent, because you do need you need a strong central government without the overreach, and they did realize that too. And this lack of regulation of the commerce resulted in economic discord amongst the states. You're dealing with the states, and you needed unanimous consent to amend anything. Unanimous. You're not going to get everyone to agree on everything, so you need all the colonies to agree to do any amendment. So it's bad, and it. There are rebellions and whatnots. But look, the shortcomings of the Articles of Confederation prompted calls for a constitutional convention, which convened in Philadelphia. I love saying Philadelphia. You ever catch that? Some people say that, Philadelphia. It could just be my ridiculous family. Some people say it. But in 1787, they had a Continental Congress, and resulting in the U.S. Constitution created a stronger federal government, which is the whole point. Executive, bicameral, which means representatives in a Senate, and then the judiciary. And I don't think that was appointed district judges or magistrate judges or whatever the shit we were talking about. While the article served a vital initial step towards independent self-governance, the experience underscored a need for a more balanced and effective system. So the Articles of the Confederation played a crucial role in the early history of the United States, providing for a foundation for independence and national unity, but its weakness underscored the necessity for more robust, I just hate saying robust federal government, but that's what I wrote, and so I'm reading it. And it led to the drafting of the U.S. Constitution, which is a good thing, and we need to stick by that. So the lessons learned from the Article's successes and failures turned into principles and highlighted the importance of balancing state sovereignty with federal authority. And in a functioning democracy I just every time I hear him say the threat to democracy, which is also leading to death, because we're a constitutional republic. So when I say a functioning democracy, I'm meaning a constitutional republic, which is what we have, because a democracy would be one person voting on every single thing, where representatives ideally represent what you think and then will vote in a federal government, but it's gone way away from that. And they're districting places where they have 30+% of Republican support, but 0 representatives in Congress. So I'm getting into it. We're going to talk a touch about signing of the Constitution, which happened on this day. But our U.S. Constitution was signed September 17th, 1787. That is today, September 17th. And it's important for a number of reasons, but the events that led up to it, just to give you a brief summary, was obviously the American Revolution, which technically started in 1775 up till 1783. The United States rebelled against the British. We remember the Tea Party, talked about that before. It did lead to the Declaration of Independence in 1776. And the Revolutionary War ended with the Treaty of Paris in 1773, which, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, recognized American independence. Then the Articles of Confederation were next from 1781 to 1789. Shays' Rebellion was an armed uprising in Massachusetts by farmers facing economic difficulties, highlighted
the weakness of the Articles of the Confederation. That was one of the things we just talked about, and the need again for a stronger national federal government. The Annapolis Convention, 1786, was a meeting to discuss trade issues, resulted in a call for broader convention to revise the Articles of Confederation. So not necessarily calling for a new constitution, but just revising the one we had. And then the Constitutional Convention of 1787, that's delegates from 12 states showed up. Rhode Island did not. Still waiting on you, Rhode Island, in Philly to draft a new constitution. And again, that's where James Madison and Washington and Franklin were. We just mentioned the preamble. That's the first part of it, we the people. Another element is the separation of powers. The Constitution divides federal government into legislative. And I want you to know this too. Just remember this, because you get asked and people need to know what the three branches. The legislative is Congress, executive is the president, the judicial is the Supreme Court. That's for checks and balances. The president can veto anything, but a veto can be overturned by a supermajority. 60 senators, I think it is. Is it 60%, something like that? I'm going to get to that in a second because I'm just reading my copious notes, because as opposed to normal, I'm going to go by the book. The Constitution, a key element was that each branch has no power to limit the others, is what we're saying. The president can veto it, whatever. Supermajority, just talked about that. The Constitution allocates powers between the federal and state governments, and that's where some of the stuff's coming up. The states should be more powerful. That's the whole abortion thing with Roe v. Wade. They didn't ban it. They just turn it over to the states, and the states are doing what they want. And if you don't like it, you can vote in your state. If you want your representative to represent you, ideally, you tell him, and as opposed to lying you on the campaign trail, which he would never do, they'll go back and obviously vote for everything you want instead of just telling you what you want and then you being dumb enough to reelect him. And then the Bill of Rights, which are what? The first 10 amendments of the Constitution. They were added in 1791, protect individual liberties, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, right to a fair trial. And you're going to hear C lawyers, Twitter lawyers, X lawyers, whatever they're called, and they're going to start telling you this was never in the Constitution. This wasn't in the... Well, yes, some of it was. So just do your own research and don't be a douche. And then the signing of the Constitution on September 17th, 1787, 38 to 41 delegates present signed the Constitution, and we talked about who those were and that Rhode Island didn't show up. The document then had to be ratified by at least 9 of 13. So I was wrong. So 9 of 13 needed to ratify it. That did happen in June of 1788 when New Hampshire became the ninth state. So way to represent their New England. I'm going to get into what the Constitution just means. I'm going to go through my notes right here. Is the freedom of governance provides structure and rules for the operation of the federal government, ensuring balance of power, protecting against tyranny. We're seeing tyranny right now, and I think some of the issues is just the lawmakers that are making the laws. It's like the whole insider trading thing. Is it messed up? Yeah. Is it illegal? No. Well, why don't we change the law? Well, who are the lawmakers? The rich guys. How'd they get rich? The self-licking ice cream cone. Someone give me a book so I can eat it. The Constitution also means the protection of your rights. So this protects you ideally because the Second Amendment protects your right to bear arms. And I feel like that's by far the most important one. Well, freedom of speech is important, but that's dead in a lot of places. The Second Amendment is the most important one right now because all you're hearing about is the instrument used, not the evil people, and not the fucking mental illness. You're talking about the guns and what the government's trying to do because with communism you can vote your way in, but you got to shoot your way out. Remember that. What they're telling you is it's literally socialism leads to communism because you take the guns, we'll take care of you. It's fine. It's not fine. Guns are not for hunting, and it doesn't matter which kind of gun you have. You can have anything, and right now I'd say get them in ammo, keep them, because these look at England right now. I mean, the march was great, but that happened because people were getting arrested for saying stuff on Facebook. Arrested. Why didn't they resist? Well, they don't have any guns. Who does? Their government. Do not let one entity own all the guns. Now, don't think for a second the government's going to come after you in a line of Humvees up armored with an assault team. They're going to come at you with suits and bow ties. A very diverse group of gentlemen will come up to you and ask you if you'll give up your guns, and you say no. They're not going to fight you. They're going to mark you as non-compliant. Then they're going to come after your guns. And if you have guns that they want to take, just make sure you lost them all in like a boating accident or something like that. the Constitution is a living document. It's adaptable through amendments, and you can get stuff amendment to. But you got to pay attention to who's trying to do the amending. What are the Democrats saying? They want representation in D.C., which means 2 more Democrat senators. Puerto Rico to become a state. Why? 2 more Democrat senators. Because they lose the ballot box. That's why they redistrict everything and try to cheat. They want to pack the court. Can't let them. That's communism that they're trying to take over, man. And Democrats too, dude. You've allowed yourself to be hijacked. This is not John F. Kennedy would be a Republican. Believe that. So would Robert F. Kennedy. They're both assassinated, by the way. What does that tell you? Don't cross certain people, I guess. I mean, are we going to get into conspiracy theories now? Like, was someone making the Titanic go really fast through a minefield? Who knows, man? But it can be, and it should be. But you got to be careful the people who are in there who has your interest in mind, because that's what the Constitution is for. It's to protect you. It represents the collective will of the American people to establish a just and effective government. So essentially, the Constitution was a response to the inadequacies of the Articles of Confederation and the need for a stronger, more efficient national government. Now, the last part there is important because what the founders wanted was an efficient government. Efficient, okay? It doesn't mean going to the DMV, which is not efficient. It doesn't mean the government owes you housing. It doesn't mean the government owes you health care. I hope we have it. I wish we do, but not at the expense of others who are working hard. If you come here with 3 wives, you shouldn't be able to say those are all single moms. They all get free stuff like they do in Britain. They get their own flats. They're all on welfare. 1 dude, 3 wives, bunch of kids. The taxpayer's paying for it. That's not what it meant. It meant to protect the people. It's a cornerstone of what this semi-democratic process that we have with the constitutional republic. That's what it means. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness doesn't guarantee you happiness, the pursuit of it. And it's a government by the people, for the people, not for D.C., not for the Acela Express that goes from D.C. to New York carrying reporters who don't give a fuck about you. And that's who they are. And believe that. Don't think for a second that the media is not complicit with what happened last week. There should be an investigation into the media people. What did you say? How many times did you say it? How many times did you call Charlie Kirk a fascist? How many times did you call for violence against him? How many times did you call for violence against someone else? Just because they're telling you the truth and it offends you because you're an idiot. As someone who's killed people, I am not pro-violence. I don't like violence. I certainly don't like the way a lot of this stuff's going down. Now, is it necessary? Yeah, it might just be. And I'm not advocating for violence. I don't want to see it, but I would like people to take control of their own houses, taking control of your own electorate, take control of the people voting for you. Don't go out there and saying, cooking a hamburger the wrong way, putting cheese on a raw meat, and not obviously don't know how to cook, or go saying, meet him at the gasoline station. No one says that because you're not a real person. People have been in government so long, you don't realize what you're doing. You're complicit though. Some of you are bad people, and you should be doing time for a lot of this stuff too. I'm one of the dudes that voted for Trump that's saying, hey, a lot of talks happen. No one's in jail yet. Why not? A lot of stuff's gone down. People are dying now. I mean, I don't want to get into the horrible event with Charlie Kirk just yet. I want to know more about it. I saw the video once. It was sent to me one time before he was pronounced dead. I didn't like seeing it. I knew when I saw it, if it was real, he was dead before he hit the ground. Why? What happened? And it's like, we don't know who it was. We don't know which government it was. We don't know if that dude's a passy. Oh, we're happy that he's white. Oh, we're not happy he's got a transgender boyfriend. That's why you got to take a breath and realize what's happening and how are people getting spun up. Doesn't matter if this dude's parents were Mormons living in Utah or Christians living in Utah, raising a good kid. Something radicalized them. And what was it? It shouldn't matter if it's politics. I know politics gets heated. Shouldn't come down to political violence, which it did, but it's certainly right now the left shouldn't be saying we don't condone political violence. That's a bunch of horse shit, and you know it. And the media, you know it. And you should be held accountable for that crap. You shouldn't be lying and calling someone a name that isn't true. You don't even know what fascism is. Fascism is having your opponent speak and then killing him. Wake the fuck up. I mean, know the Constitution, know your history, and if you don't wake up the guys who just wanted to be left alone, you might never be out of the fight.